Hello, good afternoon. How are you today? It's Dr. Shirley. It's nice to have you here today. We are live every week at Tuesday and Wednesday and Saturday morning. So have a different variety of classes every week. If you're looking for some of the classes we've already had, you can just look to your left on the page. There's a spot called videos. I'm also taking the time to put these videos onto YouTube. I do have a YouTube station. Unfortunately, I have two right now. I'd like there to be one, but one of them is Dr. Shirley Says, and then the other one is just under Shirley Picker. So you can find a lot of the videos that I have done in the past there. So today we're going to talk a little bit about cortisol, in particular what it does to our body, and what happens with our body when our cortisol is too high, and then some ways that you can make that lower. And right now there's obviously a lot more stress that is going on, a lot more anxiety, a lot more being unsure, right, about what's going to be happening, because nobody really does. And there seems to be some getting back to normalcy, but this can take a while, for our body and our minds, especially if we're experiencing some anxiety to begin with. This is very real. What's happening, maybe there's, financial issues, personal issues. Maybe you just want to get the heck out of the house, which I totally understand too. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, hey, Jake, nice to see you. And welcome everyone, today. So cortisol is actually called hydrocortisone. That is the actual name from it. And it comes from our adrenal glands. And our adrenal glands are our stress glands. And we have two of those. We have two kidneys, and on top of the kidneys are our adrenal glands. They're little tiny triangle-shaped glands that kind of just, like a thumb, about the size of a thumb, just kind of fit right on top, but they're really, really powerful. And for those that suffer with any anxiety at all, those are the glands that are compromised and really the source of all panic and anxiety. And a lot of people don't know this, and so there's maybe a lot of different medications, and I totally get that, because anxiety is horrible to be with, but you're never going to get to the source, and so we always need to get to the source, which are those adrenal glands. And we may have just a weakened nervous system to begin with. Most people who do have panic or anxiety do have that particular weak link. It happens to be my weak link. I've kept it well for a lot of years, but again, under uncertain times right now, we may be experiencing a little bit more. So it's a natural hormone. Okay, it's not something that's unnatural, and it comes from the adrenal cortex, which is one of the main parts of the adrenal glands themselves. It creates a homeostasis in our body. Homeostasis means to be balanced. Okay, we may sometimes feel out of balance. My business actually used to be called years ago Body Balance. It was Body Balance Systems, because it was kind of all about how do we balance the body, and sometimes the body doesn't always stay balanced when we get it balanced. Hi Jane, how are you? Got a message today. We were discussing a few things. And so, we work hard to get our bodies into balance, but, life has shifting sands that are going on. We're always trying to, I do find that once you get your body up to a certain level, you can withstand, quite a bit. But when we're out of whack, and the cortisol can really, really cause so many problems, within the body, especially elevated heart rate. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So when we deal with cortisol, it's very important to know that it helps to regulate our actual blood sugar. So we may experience different highs and lows with our blood sugar. One of the ways to work with that is to make sure you get protein at every meal, but the cortisol plays a big part and how that is going to be processed. It also regulates our metabolism, and so we may find that if our cortisol is out of whack and there's too much running through our body, we will accumulate more weight, within our system. And I just finished doing a course on Healthy, Lean, and Sexy at Any Age, and we talked about there's so many different variables to weight loss, but this is one of them. Stress does cause a weight gain. Having too much cortisol in your body does cause a weight gain, and we'll find out where in a couple minutes when we get into that. You also find that cortisol itself, if we don't have enough, we're going to have more inflammation in our body. And a lot of disease, of course, is related to how much inflammation is really going on, whether that's in the heart, whether that's in the liver, whether that's, in the colon. So we always want to keep our inflammation low. It also helps to cortisol does control our memory. And so when our cortisol is out of whack, we may have short-term memory loss. And a lot of times, and we all get concerned about memory, like, geez, am I okay? But what happens is that, first of all, we're not sleeping as well. And when we sleep solid, that's when our memories get stored. Sometimes our cortisol is running too high, and it's one of the reasons that we're not sleeping well, or not falling asleep well, or not staying asleep well. So right along with it, if we're not sleeping well, then we're not storing our memories. And you may not remember things. You may have a hard time grasping things, getting something from point A, to point B. Maybe it's on the tip of your tongue. Maybe you just can't remember a show you just watched last night. But I just encourage you, when you get the nervous system under control and get the cortisol levels balanced, you'll find that pops back. It's not like it's an ongoing, weakening situation. It doesn't have to be anyway. Okay, that's probably one of the best ways to put it. The other thing that is controlled by the cortisol is our blood pressure. All right, so our blood pressure, has a lot to do. If we're experiencing stress, experiencing anxiety, our blood pressure is going to go up. The heart rate goes up. This cortisol, kind of flushes, through our system, and it really can be a causative factor. So yes, if you take a medication, it's going to calm down your blood pressure, but why not get to the source? If the source is indeed the cortisol, why not balance the cortisol so then you don't need to take, that medication, after all. You will find that there's an increase in your heart rate. Normal heart rate is between 60 and 80. If your heart rate, especially, we'll talk about what time of day, but when your heart rate starts to give above 80 is when you start to become uncomfortable. It can certainly get up into 100. In some ways, like a tachycardia is like 110, 120, where your heart just really, beating away, per minute. It's going to cause a muscle tenseness on your body. You may have tense, gripping in here, gripping in your jaw, gripping in your shoulders. Maybe you're pulling your shoulders up, towards your ears, and you'll see a difference in your energy levels. You may just, start, even though your body feels like it's moving all the time, that you may find that your energy is off, your physical energy and your mental energy really, just is not as strong. So Jane says, I'm experiencing a regular sleep schedule again, too. Yeah, it may be the cortisol. You'll learn more through this class, and then of course message me later, and I'll be happy to add on to that. So when the energy, or when the cortisol is good, it really does a lot of important things for our body. But when the negative effects are too high, that's when we start feeling really out of whack. So I want to go through some of said that there's 20 different ones. Now our cortisol is lowest between 12 at night and 4 in the morning. That's really when our body would be experiencing some good sleep. But right around 7 to 8, it's actually meant that the cortisol would be higher because it's meant to wake us up. Okay, it's meant to be like, okay, time to get up, let's go, and kind of like starts coursing through our body. But for those that have anxiety or experiencing a high stress period of time, there will be a flood of cortisol in the morning. It's one of the reasons why people who do suffer with anxiety and panic, that mornings are worse. Like they wake up, you're in a sound sleep, and this used to happen to me. It's actually one of the things that was driving me nuts when I had anxiety, because I'd be sleeping like a baby, and then you wake up and like, oh, just kind of like figuring out that you're awake. And I would feel fine, and then within seconds, my heart rate would be up. I'm like, all right, what's going on? So that was like one of the clues that led me that, if I'm fine all night long, but I'm just getting this anxiety first thing in the morning, there's something that's out of balance. So that's what led me on my trail to become a doctor of naturopathy and kind of take care of my anxiety naturally. So that's part of my story. So one of the things that you suffer with the most is panic and anxiety. And I know some of you have listened to me before in the past, but the cortisol has so much to do with it because our hormones control so much in our body, and the cortisol does as well too. So there's different formulas both for the adrenal glands. I just recently came in contact with a actual cortisol formula, which is shown to reduce cortisol. So it's kind of new to me, but I like the ingredients that are in there, and it's really something that I can recommend with confidence based on the source and based on what it is to help to balance that naturally. So if you have desire on that, just send me a message. So you will have more panic and anxiety when the cortisol is high. You'll also experience different mood swings. Now mood swings can go in between, right? A mood swing means to be that, okay, one day you're feeling low, some lethargy, you're down, you're just not that, and then you're feeling like a little nutty, a little, up there and out there, and maybe quick to anger, easily frustrated, moody, snappy, just kind of that whole thing. That's really, part of what can go on when your cortisol is out of whack. You may also experience some digestive difficulties, and usually in the form of some kind of cramping, possibly some irritable bowel, because our magnesium levels are affected. So you may have some trouble breaking, down some foods and digesting easily and effortlessly. You are more prone to heart disease because it causes inflammation, as I said. The heart does better not being inflamed, of course, but you would be more prone to that if your cortisol stays high for long periods of time. Again, these are meant to be part of the body to kind of help us to do well, but it's not meant to be a floodgate, where the cortisol is just running wild, throughout your body. It's meant to be just kind of used as your body, needs it. You will experience high blood pressure on a long-term basis if the cortisol is not, kept under control. And again, if you take a medication for high blood pressure, one of the things that happens is that it depletes both your magnesium, and then it also depletes, puts, stress, on the liver, and then you're taking out your potassium, and we need potassium for blood pressure and that kind of thing. So Michelle says, what about if you work overnights? I'm not sure what your question is. The body still would respond to that first thing in the morning, if that's what your question is. So yeah, our body doesn't adjust its hormonal output based on what we choose our schedule to be, and it's always best to get your best sleep is before midnight, kind of get early to bed, early to rise. There really is a lot more to that little rhyme than just something that's cute. Our sleep before midnight is twice as valuable as our sleep afterwards. So getting into that kind of habit, if you can. Some people are night people, some are morning people. I'm in bed at 9 o'clock every night, just kind of like I can't wait. But again, we all have to find our way with that. And when we can't sleep, it really can drive you crazy. You may experience some bone loss as well too, because vitamins like calcium and magnesium get leached from the body with too much cortisol. So there's a connection there between osteoporosis or some osteopenia, which is really like a precursor to osteoporosis. You may find yourself being insulin resistant. So these are big things. Wouldn't you say we're like hitting all the biggies here? So you may become insulin resistant, meaning that your insulin isn't being used properly and more prone to a type 2 diabetic situation. You're also more prone from a long-term standpoint to some, breakdown, with the dendrites, like I said, with the memory not being stored. And so if this goes on for too long a period of time where memory is impaired, then we can actually start to have, breakdowns, in the, frontal cortex and the hippocampus and the different parts of the brain that we need to operate, especially as the years go by. So you're a lot more prone to an Alzheimer's, situation. You may have a poor immune system response as well too. So you can just tell there's just like nothing great about having too much cortisol in your body, right? So the immune system is not going to be able, to respond properly, and stress does shut down the immune system. Okay, we have angst, we have anger, we have frustration, stress, worry. Our T cells, which are natural killer cells, those are the ones that go out and kind of gobble up all the, bacteria, virus, or whatever may be out there, but they become exhausted when the body's having to work like that, all the time, and so then it just doesn't affect it anymore. Your T cells will shut down with sugar, they'll shut down with stress, and you're going to be someone who is more prone to different, coughs, colds, virus, bacteria, things like that. You may find yourself with hair and skin problems too. Remember, anything that shows up on the skin and the quality and sheen of your hair is directly related to how healthy, that your body is. And most of this, again, is due to minerals and, again, too much inflammation within the body. Your thyroid will be out of balance. I talked about this in quite detail in the course that we just finished, but the thyroid, of course, controls your metabolism, and most people have a weak one. So if the doctor tells you that yours is okay, my guess is it's not, and I'm just saying so because the windows of what's normal are so wide in most people because of all the xenoestrogens and all the chemicals that are in the environment. These particularly affect our thyroid gland in a very, very negative way, and so we have a sluggish metabolism, and we're going to tend to gain weight more, and so this too much cortisol is going to also weaken the thyroid, which will also lead you to gain more weight. You may experience some muscle weakness, and I remember I experienced this many years ago myself, and it was kind of scary. And we're going like, wow, what's going on? Is this like a pre-MS thing? We know when our muscles are not working well. And again, like I always say, I don't ever want to, be someone who's leading with fear. There's always solutions. If I bring something up, there's a solution, okay? So it's not just like, oh, geez, I'm screwed. It's like, it's just really not, that kind of a thing. But if you go on for too long and your nerves start getting, weakened because of, too much cortisol in your body, your muscles will become weakened, and you may, have difficulty even doing basic tasks. And you see this with someone with too much alcohol, with too much anxiety over a period of time. There can be some muscle weakness weakness that goes on, but you can, recover, that with the right supplements and with the right food and, all these other, mind-body practices we can do as well too. You may be irritable. I talked about that with a moody thing, but it can just be a little snappy, a little, quick to anger, a little quick to react, even with people that are not your family members. You may experience frequent urination because when the nervous system is stressed, you'll have more urination that's going on. The bladder is also extremely weak in the body, and if there's not enough calcium, magnesium, the bladder is going to also become weak. You're going to experience, like we said, a lack of sleep, and lack of sleep has an effect on absolutely everything. Our mood, how we feel, how we function, it just never feels good, not to sleep. And it's hard, if you're laying there like, I want to sleep, and it just, these whole neural pathways go on. And if you've got too much cortisol kind of coursing through your body, it's going to be very, very difficult. It's almost like, I remember I feel like, wow, it's like something just got turned on in my body, and how the heck do I turn that off? You may have a lower sex drive. Okay, your sex drive is affected. You just may not have a strong enough desire, or a desire that you normally had. You will not care about it, perhaps. You're going to have more waist thickening and belly fat. Okay, these are the two things that are really associated with cortisol. So, people that may be apple shaped, we all have different shapes. There's pear and all that, whatever the names are. But if you carry like a lot of weight around your belly, now men normally will carry all the weight there. Women, we get it maybe, arms, legs, belly, hips. We all have different, beautiful shapes. But if you're someone that's waist has gotten thicker and your belly has gotten, bigger, and you are experiencing stress or anxiety, the cortisol is absolutely, contributing, to that. You may find that your face has become rounder, perhaps a little bit red. Cortisol can cause like a flushing in your face too. And you also will experience, perhaps having the feeling of being tired and wired. Okay, does that ever make sense to you, where you're so tired but your body's wired? Okay, that is cortisol, overall. So some of the things that we can do with that, are definitely to work with the adrenal glands. In those, we can work with herbal formulas. We can work with glandulars. There's different adrenal support formulas. If you want to know anything specific, just message me. But making sure that those adrenal glands, if they become too weak, we have to build them up. If they're too hot, we need to to cool those down. So those are both things that will make a difference. And then also this cortisol formula, if you want to know more about that, just send me a message. I'll send you a link. You can look at that. And then obviously, lifestyle with, good food and, your other, self-care, whether that's, meditation, yogas, whatever you like to do, to kind of, to keep moving, to keep yourself, balanced. So much of what goes on in our body takes place in our head. And that really becomes up to us. I mean, the vitamins, the herbals, and the foods can help to calm everything. But we have to find our way on the inside and find our way, how we want to live our life, as well too. So it is the calmest and most peaceful, and also, gives us the most joy. So I hope that was helpful for you today. If you'd like to, leave a comment, that would be great. Thanks for watching. Stacy, nice to see you. Hi, Tina, nice to see you. Hi, Michelle and Maggie, of course, nice to see you as well too. So take care, and I will see you real soon. Okay, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.